Hi guys, today we're going to be looking at the distance formula. To start off with, I'm actually going to write out what the distance formula is, and then we're going to look at where the distance formula actually comes from. So how can we actually remember this apart from just learning it off by heart? So that's what the distance formula says. It says distance equals the square root of x2 minus x1 all squared plus y2 minus y1 all squared. So where does it come from? Okay, well first of all, before we can see where it comes from, we're going to look at what it actually means. What are we finding? So we've got our x and y axis there. So we're going to say we're going to have 2 points. Let's say for example I have the point 5, 6, and I'm going to have the point 0, 0. And what it's asking us to do is to find the distance of that line. Okay. If we want to give some letters, we can call it the line AB. So in order to look at this, what we're going to do is we're going to create a right-angled triangle. Because we've used right-angled triangle before in terms of distance, a right-angled triangle in terms of just lengths, we've used that little theorem, if we call that A and B and C, which is called Pythagoras' theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Now we know with Pythagoras, in order to get rid of that squared, because obviously if I do A squared plus B squared, that gives me C squared, we actually want what C is. We have to square root our answer. And all of a sudden, hopefully you can start to see that these two things look quite similar. This a squared kind of looks like this x2 minus x1 squared and b squared, etc. Except I actually got them around the wrong way, but it doesn't really matter. Because you're adding these two things, it doesn't matter if you do the x's first or the y's first. Okay, so, well, this a squared is the length, isn't it? Okay, so if I put this as a point, obviously this is 5 across and it's 0 up. Look at my 2 points. If I want to find the height here, well, it's the change in y values. In this case, it's 6 take away 0, or the change in y's. So I'm going to write there, instead of actually doing 6 take away 0, I'm going to write in y2 minus y1. That's our a value, and it's squared. Likewise, my x values, in order to figure out how far this line is, obviously you can see it goes 5 across, but it's because we're doing 5 take away 0, or in other words, our x2 minus x1. That gets me my value of the b, and obviously it's squared. And all of a sudden you can see that rule and that rule look almost identical. You'll notice that the y and the x's are the other way around, but it's kind of like doing 2 plus 3 and 3 plus 2, they're both going to be the same thing. Okay, so that's where the formula actually derives from. So question is then, how can I actually find the answer? Okay, don't mind me, what I'm just going to do is, excuse me, just going to get rid of this stuff here. Okay, so we're going to use this actual question. So let's look at the rule. Distance equals, now as I said, it doesn't matter which one you do first. The rule says x2 minus x1, so we'll do these values first of all. Okay, now remember, all I need to do is to use these values here and to use these values here. That's the whole idea of the rule. So my 2x values, 5 take away 0 squared, plus my 2y values, 6 take away 0. Now remember, it doesn't really matter which one you start with. I've decided the bigger ones because obviously it's going to give me a positive number. 5 take away 0 is just 5. So we get 5 squared plus 6 squared. Now to be honest, it doesn't actually matter. You don't have to have that line of working. You can just do the square root of 25 plus 36. You can even add those together if you would like to do that. Okay, that gets the square root, obviously, of 61. Now that's currently as a surd. If you've got a calculator, you can then go forward and then actually find the value of that by using the square root sign. Unfortunately, I don't have a calculator with me at the moment, but that's quite an easy step. Okay, and that's just it. We're going to look at one last example here without a graph. Okay, oops, so we can call this example 2. Find the distance of 1, let's say 4. I might make this a bit more challenging. We'll do 6, -2. Now you might want to pause this and go ahead and try to work this out. So do so, or just follow on. Okay, the rule. It's a squared plus b squared. So we know that's going to be our x2 minus x1 squared plus my b squared, y2 minus y1 all squared. Made it a little bit more challenging with a negative in there. So let's have a look. D equals, well, my 2x values. I've got 1 and I've got 6. Let's start with the 6 because that's a bigger number. So we've got 6 take away 1 all squared plus. Now my 2y values are 4 and minus 2. Now, because we started with the 6 the first time, we must start with the 6 the minus 2. Okay, so we've got minus 2 minus 4 all squared. Now we can put that into a calculator like that, making sure we have the brackets in the right spots. Okay, and that can get us our answer straight away. Again, I'm just going to do each step at a time. 6 take away 1 equals 5. 5 squared equals 25. Minus 2 minus 4 is minus 6. Minus 6 squared becomes a positive 36, because negative 6 times negative 6 is positive 36. Make sure you have your brackets in your calculator, otherwise it could lead you astray. So finally, distance equals, well, 25 plus 36, funny enough, distance equals 61. Look at that, didn't mean that to happen. Again, if you have your calculator, you can put that in and then find it to 1 or 2 decimal places. Otherwise, you can simply leave it as a surd if it doesn't simplify down to a whole number. Okay, that's how you find the distance of 2 points.